pretty good too, I thought.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm stoked to watch it.
Surprisingly.
So on that note about the Sonic the Hedgehog tidbit, we are live with our special Stories from a Pandemic, a filmmaking panel. It sounds like a Sundance movie, but it's not.
Yeah.
It does, doesn't it?
For sure.
But we're here with some very esteemed guests. We're live on Facebook on our GenreBlast page. We've assembled a very respectable group of filmmakers from all over the world. We are international right now. We like to keep it that way. So let's go around the room and introduce everybody. Let's start with Todd. Tell everybody who you are.
Hey, I'm Todd Densmore. I live in Richmond, Virginia. Last year was my first year at GenreBlast. Totally changed my life. My film Cardinal won Best Virginia Short Film, so I was really proud of the film and the reception that we got there. And yep, this year we made a movie in the middle of the pandemic, so that's what I'm here talking about.
And Anna.
Yeah, I'm Anna Cooley. I am based in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I'm part of a team of 3 here, including Dave and Braden, who last week did a 3-day shoot for our for the trailer of our new show, Sophie the Exorcist.
Which looks amazing, by the way. I can't wait to see that. The early teaser was hilarious. So
Thank you.
I'm so excited to see the final version. David and Braden, you're with Anna. Go ahead and intro yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I'm David. I also live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I'm here with Anna and Braden.
Mr. Mark Brown. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to do Braden. Go ahead.
Oh, no worries. My name's Braden Brickner. Yeah, I also work with Anna and David. One of the producers and writers of The Cyborgs that premiered at GenreBlast a couple years ago. I'm based in Toronto, Canada, but I work in Calgary a lot. So, yeah.
All right, awesome. And now Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark Brown. I'm in London, and my debut feature, Guardians, had its world premiere at GenreBlast 2.
Yes.
And yeah, won a couple of awards, 3 awards there, and it was an amazing event. I loved it, and I will be back. And I shot a feature during lockdown, but not about it.
Good. Jeff?
Hi, I'm Jeff Frumess, and I'm from White Plains, New York, and I'm stoked to see so many people from all over the world in this little panel. I think that's super cool. And I started a feature in March, and as it looks now, it is kaput because of the pandemic. But I did get a chance to shoot a short, which was really nice. So it's a bittersweet experience, but stoked to be here. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you. John?
Hello, my name is John Hale. I'm from Fairmont, West Virginia. I had a short play here last year at GenreBlast 4 called The Conduit. It's a 1980s style practical creature effects short. And I was able to produce a short during COVID for a Christmas horror anthology called 13 Slays, produced by PJ Stark. It was called Killer Caribou and has killer reindeer in it. Because, yes.
Yeah, nice.
That's great.
Last but not least, I think, is Vanessa.
Yes, hello, Vanessa Wright. I did a micro short that we did during the lockdown among 3 different states. There was literally no contract among any of us, and I'm actually getting ready to kind of reshoot a film that we started right before everything shut down. And we're going to be doing it SAG now, and lots of guidelines moving forward, shooting in a pandemic.
So since Vanessa has experience and has made a lockdown film, I'm going to turn it over to her so she can kind of lead the conversation, and you all can talk amongst yourselves about your experiences and what you've done. And if I have a question, I'll pop in whenever I feel like it. But take it away.
Yeah.
Vanessa.
Sure. We kind of we did this really out of boredom since there wasn't a lot to be doing. And the 48-hour film project had come out with a quarantine edition. So we signed up, and the rules were we could not interact with each other outside of virtual. So we, from start to finish, I think it took us 18 hours, and we wrote this little script. Our genre was silent film, and we ended up doing kind of a little comedy with some horror elements. But it was interesting, I think, trying to think outside the box and figure out, like, okay, what is this going to look like now? So many things have changed for filmmakers. You know, are we just going to have a bunch of quarantine films, or is there a way to still kind of be creative and do what you need to do without physically being around anybody? So that was kind of the strangest thing, I think, for me, was trying to relearn how to do everything in a new way. Which did you guys, because who actually has done a film during all of this?
Let's say
Everybody. Okay.
I did one.
Yeah. We had a short scheduled to shoot at the end of June, and I gave months and months of pre-production and planning before we even knew that the pandemic was going to be a thing. And then that just kind of gave us a lot more time to prep and deal with the new circumstances, and, you know, get all of our crew and cast to be comfortable, you know, once we were on set. And then 3 days before we were scheduled to shoot, we lost our main location, which accounted for 80% of the script. And it was at a local sheriff's office, and they had a scare, essentially. So they were like, yeah, we're on lockdown. We had to, you know, completely rewrite the script in 3 days, and we still made it. We still did it. You know, the structure of the story is still intact. It just we just had to roll with the punches, you know. That was a huge blow that wouldn't have happened if we were shooting outside of, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Anna, since you have some of your team here, what do you think the biggest challenge was with, you know, trying to kind of get a film made through all of this?
Well, for us, we wanted to feel really confident about everyone's safety and everyone's comfort. Just creating a creative space for people to do their thing to the best of their abilities requires a level of comfort. So, I mean, it was just, it involved a lot more steps than usual. It was a little more expensive, but we had some very strict rules in place to build that comfort, and we had everyone needed to have a negative test result before they were allowed to come onto set. Everyone needed to be wearing a mask, including the actors, when they weren't having their makeup done or in the scene. And we had we had a health safety officer there to wipe down surfaces and just keep an eye on how everyone was doing. We ordered individual meals for everyone at lunch, and we even ended up having to cancel an actor because he hadn't received his results in time.
Wow.
And, so just logistically a little trickier, but once we had all those things in place and everyone understood the rules, it ended up going very well, and everyone was so happy to be back on set. But I
think that's one thing a lot of people are experiencing. You know, we're all kind of missing that, you know, and wanting to get back on set as soon as possible and continue making these films and telling these stories. And I think having to do this in a really safe way or a new way, it is definitely throwing some, I guess, more challenges into the whole process, which I guess that's probably going to become the new normal until things change, which I'm always a big proponent for safety. I mean, if it's going to keep people safe and healthy, I'm all for it. But it's just kind of, I feel like we're like that guinea pig generation of filmmakers, right? That we kind of have to figure all this out and do it. John, what were some of your experiences?
Well, when we were making Killer Caribou, we were scheduled to shoot in March. And when we went to shoot, you know, of course, everything just went to hell. So everything else just kind of laid low for a little bit. And then my producer got a hold of me. He was like, hey, in order to have this come out at a certain time, we need to go ahead and try to shoot these. So I took my safe sets, COVID background, got my information, and it's crazy. The week of the shoot, I'm a nervous wreck. I'm like disinfecting all of my gear. I'm wiping down my camera with non-bleach Clorox. I'm wiping boom poles down, wiping cables down. Some would say I might have taken a little too far. And when
I'm all for it, disinfect away.
Right. And so the week of, I think it was on Thursday, we're shooting on Saturday, my lead makeup artist called me. She was like, hey, just so you know, I've been exposed to someone who has COVID. I don't know what to do. And I said, well, you're not coming to the shoot. That's the number one thing. And then I told her, I said, dude, forget this shoot. You make sure that like you're good. Your safety, health, and well-being comes first. And then the day before, on that Friday, my gaffer said that he was hanging with someone. His parents were in contact with someone who had COVID-19. He was like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, stay home. Everyone stay home. So when they came, he had some gear with him. So the day of, he dropped his gear off from his truck. I had plastic gloves. I wiped down every single thing with Clorox. And when the cast and crew arrived, I made sure that everyone had their temperature taken. I asked them if they travel out of the state. Have they been around anyone that had COVID? We made sure all the windows in the cabin, we had a 2-floor cabin. So we made sure all the upper windows were open so we can have proper air ventilation, airflow, and only essential crew members were allowed on set. And we had 11 people total. So there's only 4 people in a space at one time. Everyone else was either sent upstairs where there was open ventilation, or they were told to wait outside the cabin. Everyone had their own separate meals, and made sure there was like tons of hand sanitizer on set. It was kind of ridiculous because we were worried that you were going to see the hand sanitizer on set. We had so many bottles, but we made everyone like sanitize their hands every half an hour to 45 minutes and make sure everyone wore their mask. Everyone wore masks the entire time they were on my set.
Good.
And we had an 18-hour shoot that day, so the insides of the mask were like god awful. But safety is much better than me worrying about my beard being wet the entire time. So, but yeah, those are some of the things that we worried about when we were shooting Killer Caribou.
Yeah, some of the guidelines coming in now are that you have to have actual zones on set. And you can't cross your zone.
Right.
Which kind of changes a lot of the experience of what we're all used to. I mean, I think being on set, you get to kind of in between get to know people and have these experiences. And now it's kind of like, all right, well, I can only talk to these people right here and I can't see anybody the rest of the day. It's making it tough. Jeff, what about you? What's been your...
Mine is a sorrowful tale of woe. And some it's bittersweet, as I said. I started on my second feature-length film that I had been trying to get off the ground for a few years now. And, my MO is I'm just, I'm that micro budget guy who's just wearing 1,000 hats to try and get everything done, funding it out of my pocket, that whole jazz. And so, everything is sort of like really confined to a couple of actors, single set or what shooting blocks with, just this location at this particular time. And so we had been prepping for 6 weeks to do the first shooting block, and we shot 20% of the movie on March 8th. And then March 12th, everything exploded. I was supposed to be down in Florida doing shooting a commercial for liquid death water. What's that? The water company? Water company. I was supposed to be shooting a commercial with this band for that. I had to cancel my flight.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this is going to blow over. And then obviously, as we all know, nothing blows over. So I have 20% of this film sitting on a hard drive. One of those quarantine competitions comes up, and it's funny. I'm actually a huge hypocrite because I was like, I made a meme, the Ned Stark meme. Brace yourselves, the quarantine shorts are coming.
Yeah.
Because just rolling my eyes, and then there was a contest, and I was like, my film was like essentially in perpetual hiatus. So I was like, well, I might as well shoot something with all this gear that I recently acquired. So, but the rules were that you had to shoot, just within your house and everything, and because I'm so isolated, I just made the whole thing by myself because I was like, can I do this all by myself? And I'm pretty happy with the way that it turned out. But what ended up happening is so now, a few months pass, I call up my lead actor who's in, 95% of the film, and we have to have this dialogue. And, I'm looking at all these guidelines and everything about how everything is supposed to go, all the precautions, which again, just like, what Lloyd Kaufman says, I like his rules. He has these rules. One, safety to humans, safety to animals, make a good movie. And it's true. It's like, safety is the number one priority, especially, if I'm the one who's responsible. And how can I be responsible if I'm the only one that's really making this film? And so I had to have this, I had this long talk with my actor, and it was like, how do you feel? What does the situation look like? Because when you're at such a small level, it's really not 25 people. So it's like, what do you do? How do you negotiate that? And so right now, essentially, we are just in indefinite hiatus forever. And then meanwhile, one of my actress, Mazel Tov to her, she gets pregnant. I'm very happy for her, but that, that also freezes everything. So it's just kind of like, and the only thing I could think of, and I'll shut up after this, the only thing I could think of is this. I just keep thinking what someone else said about, like, I don't know how I'm going to complete this film. I'm just going to have to rewrite the film. I'm going to have to rewrite the film to fit whatever has gone down in order to make this work. And we'll make it work somehow, but
We've done the same thing. I'm actually in the middle of trying to shoot this Western short. And we actually, we prepped the set March 13th. The kids came home from school on March 12th, never to go back again.
Oh.
And we were sitting there, I remember, on my back porch, and we were like, okay, are we calling it? What? I don't know. Like, it was so new, and nothing official had come out to, at least in our state, like nothing was really closed yet. It was just all hitting very quickly. And we called every single crew member, and everyone's like, no, we're this close. We're here.
You got to make
Take
judgment calls.
precautions. We're going to go. And I'm like, okay, but I don't want to be the one to push this. So if one person says no, we're shutting it down. Nobody said no. So March 14th, we spent the day shooting in masks and everything. Wow. And of course we didn't finish, and fast
and nobody
forward
knows
now.
anything at that point. Nobody knew anything. There's no information.
Our set medic, luckily, was kind of on the front lines and had some info, which was nice. But similarly, all of this time just gave us, I rewrote the script, and we're kind of taking a different approach, and we're doing it SAG now, and we're set to film at the end of February. But
what does that look like exactly? That's the thing that I can't wrap my mind around, is that, again, as I said, micro budget guy here.
Yeah.
How do you, and I know obviously you can work with SAG and micro budget, but how? So are you certified? How does that all work?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you have to apply to be whatever your company. I have an LLC so that I can produce films. And I have just recently put in the paperwork to register that LLC as a SAG signatory. Once they approve that, then you have to send them. It's so much paperwork. I understand why people are always been a little hesitant, but honestly, if you can put somebody on it and do the paperwork, it's not that big a deal. You're just having to make sure that everything, all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. And obviously there's a lot more now with their kind of COVID regulations. I actually brought a binder of it with me in case I had downtime to try to read up on it.
Are you doing all that work yourself, or have you delegated that to someone else?
Delegated it, but I want to know as well,
right?
Just because it's my company and it's my name, and I have a phenomenal producer, but I just want to be part of the process, especially moving forward. If I don't have the luxury and I have to be my own producer, I just want to know, because it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff, and we've applied to do it under the short project agreement. So you can keep the budget really low. You just have to kind of earmark certain things. Like we have stunts, so we have to have a stunt coordinator on set. So we've got horses, and we're not using any firing weapons, but there's still like some low-key fighting, but even just being on a horse is considered a stunt. So I decided to do a really ambitious project during all of this.
Yeah, but the one thing that I think, that the one wrinkle in the sheets, the bed sheets, is that it's like, that's what it ultimately does. That's what this situation does, is it does inflate budgets, though, in the sense of like all the extra things. And if time is money, then that's also inflating the budget, because you gotta be separate and stuff. So it does.
Yeah.
Well, and how has that changed for everybody? I mean, has this changed anybody's mindset as far as, you know, how you're going to approach things now moving forward? I mean, is it going to affect your ability to jump on board and be like, yeah, let's just do this? Or are you a bit more cautious about the films you're going to make, how and when you're going to make them? I mean, how has this changed your mindset about the entire process? And just anybody can jump on that one.
I think in some ways it's kind of changed for the better. Like when we were on set, I overheard our hair and makeup person talking to somebody about just health and safety, and she was saying that now with all the extra precautions that they have to take, just being so close to actors all the time, so hair and makeup, they're wearing masks, they're wearing face shields, they've got gloves on, they're sanitizing all the time. They're being really careful about making sure that the brushes they use on one actor are only used on that actor.
Right.
And they make sure that they get disinfected regularly and stuff. And she was saying that, she'd kind of wondered why they hadn't been doing that the entire time. Because it actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Just because, your eyes, for example, you can, they're a conduit for infection. So if you're
you can get some stuff
on you,
Yeah, that wouldn't be nice.
it, right? So like just to protect them, like even in a world without COVID, it makes sense to have some extra precautions.
Yeah, I think it's definitely making people a little bit more mindful of just the spread of germs in general because of this. I mean, it's taking those extra precautions, not having buffet style catering anymore, or just food that's kind of open to anybody sneezing by.
I think it's just going to be, even once we're out of this pandemic, I think mask wearing is just going to be the new norm, in a lot more areas than before.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be a regular thing.
I think I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please go.
I think the pandemic has also made a lot more people aware of the safety of other individuals on set. I know that, sometimes when we work on films, we can sometimes try to push that edge a little bit of getting people to do more than what they want. But this experience has at least made me realize that, the number one thing on your film is not the camera, not the lighting, not the sound. It's the people. It's the crew that you have on your set. And that should be your number one and top priority. And that was at the forefront of my mind. And I think that since it's now made me realize that, I need to make sure that my people are always going to be number one, no matter what, before anything else happens. So
I agree. And I think it's really important, even outside of this little Brady Bunch crew we have going here, that people kind of adopt that, because unfortunately, I do think there are a lot of indie filmmakers, especially indie filmmakers who are doing stuff non-union and can kind of, cut some corners and get around the rules, that they start to do things that are not keeping people safe. And it kind of tarnishes the ability as an independent filmmaker to be able to do stuff if you are doing things correctly, when people have had a lot of bad experiences or didn't feel like their safety was taken into consideration because they, did Joe Blow's film and, nothing was taken into consideration.
What David said about the brushes, which kind of like blew my mind. It's just like, this is a common, I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of like common sense. You know what it made me think of immediately? The Steven Soderbergh show, The Nick, where literally like medicine at that time was like, hey, let's stick our bare hands into someone's gut cavity. And then like, hey, why are these people dying? And it's just kind of like, it's like, this is a new age of enlightenment that has actually been going on in Eastern countries, like, the whole Eastern section in countries like China and Japan. And, you see these face masks on and we automatically think, oh, that's SARS. But, I actually read somewhere that is done out of consideration in that culture. It is to be considerate. If it's a viral season, we put these masks on, not because we don't have our shit together, but because we are trying to be considerate of other people. And in a way, it's like, some of the more barbaric aspects of our inconsideration in our culture are finally catching up with us. And it's just everybody's being enlightened.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that when I lived in South Korea 20 years ago in the early 2000s, everybody wore masks. Especially, I was there for the SARS outbreak in Asia, and everybody, even if there wasn't an outbreak, people are wearing their masks out of consideration for other people on a daily basis. And I just remember other, I was in the Army. Other people, other GIs are just like, why are these people wearing masks? That's so stupid. And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, maybe we should be wearing masks. Like seriously, I don't see what the problem is. So it just kind of makes me shake my head when I see people just completely clueless these days, on set or off, I don't see a problem with, not wearing a mask, and it really bothers me. So,
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I mean, I don't think it's that difficult of a thing to do. I mean, it's not hard to wear pants out in public. I don't understand why we can't put on a mask. I mean, I'm not sitting bare-assed on this shining carpet right now. I'm okay with that. Yeah, wear a damn mask. I'm trying to see. I don't know, Nathan, are you able to see comments? I didn't know if anybody was commenting or asking any questions. I was going to see if there was anybody out in the peanut gallery. I don't know what that. I feel like I'm in a cave.
Well, I will say this.
It's a cool cave.
What else is interesting too is this is also all happening, like it's almost like, especially not just I guess really indie film has had a rope around its neck in terms of distribution, of like just being strangled, like the fact that indie filmmakers, it's very hard for indie filmmakers to make money, and distribution has been turned on its head, and now production has been turned on its head. And it's like what you said about like everything is sort of going, it's like we're on ground zero about how things are going to be moving forward from here on out. And I wonder if what's going on in production and these new means of safety is going to affect how things are distributed, because of how distribution is affected. Primarily, look at, movie theaters are creating a means where the national public is now embracing VOD in a way that it has not previously. So what does that mean for everything? It like shakes everything up, and possibly for the better. And it kills me because I'm like, man, I wish Vimeo was just like the thing, because Vimeo puts that in the hands of filmmakers, like puts like everything in the hands of filmmakers, like for autonomy. And I don't know. I wonder what's going to happen with all that too. I don't know.
And I think that's a huge thing. I mean, there's just so many unknowns right now. I mean, everything's happening in real time, day by day. I mean, I would say as an indie filmmaker, maybe it is going to be a little bit better for us to be able to, that distribution is going to be changing a little bit. I mean, the biggest difference, honestly, is where we're getting our funding. I think a huge percentage of indie filmmakers self-fund their films, or at least takes a portion from crowdfunding. But even that in itself is a process. We don't have the luxury of the big studios and huge investors.
I think like box office receipts going down as far as they have, and I feel like studios will see that there's going to be more money to be made through VOD, and they're not going to rely on those opening weekend numbers. So you're going to have movies across the board just making less money, and then that may give studios, the incentive to bet on an indie filmmaker, maybe, the way that they used to back in the 90s, and just do not anymore at all. Yeah. I think you might see, more of those mid-range movies being made again, only because they will be making not as much as those big blockbusters, but I don't think the blockbusters is going to be making as much as they had, in the years past.
Yeah,
more people are just comfortable staying at home and watching stuff on TV.
It might level the playing field a little bit, or get a little bit more exposure out there.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
If you're scrolling Netflix and it's like, oh, the latest Marvel film is right next to, I can't think of a title, but it might be
right next to John Hale's Conduit. That's
Right.
what's gonna
I
be
wish.
No, but I mean, that's true. It's different than, when you're sitting in the theater and you're just watching the previews for the next several blockbusters that are going to be following. I mean, now it's like we have almost an unlimited library of films.
That's what blew my mind about. Back when Redbox was really popular. I was at a Redbox. I don't remember the year. It's got to be between 2013 and 2015, maybe. I don't know. And I remember scrolling and I remember seeing The Battery. The Jeremy Gardner, the $6,000 movie made The Battery right next to Avengers from 2012. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I'm like, this is a movie and this is a movie. And they're both right next to each other and they're both can be rented for $1. And it just kind of blew my mind. It blows my mind about like how, like even back then the playing field had been leveled slightly. And maybe this will just lead to it getting better and better and better. But again, I'm unsure what to do in my situation personally, because it's like at the end of the day, I'm completely at the what's it called, at a loss for word,
Mercy.
Mercy. Thank you so much, Vanessa. Thank you for that. I'm
I
at
know
the mercy.
a few words.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I'm at the mercy of my actors because I don't want to be unsafe for sure. Like I don't. And I would definitely take precautions. As I said, safety to humans, number one, right? But at the same time, I'm just kind of like, well, I mean, in my world, a crew is like 3 people, 4 people in a house with a bunch of open windows. Like where does it and I at the end of the day having a conversation with my actor who doesn't feel comfortable, I got to respect that. Nothing I can do. Hands are tied. Because personally, I'd be like, okay, well, we'll all wear masks and we'll all do the and move forward. And with 20% of the footage shot, it's like I feel like I'm pot committed, baby. I got to do this. It's in it to win it, and it's just, but it's at the pace of comfort of others.
Right.
And I guess that's just how it has to be and how it should be, truthfully.
Yeah, I think it's going to require a lot more flexibility and adaptability. And you just are kind of, and you're going to have to weigh these things, like what's going to be, when it comes to the fact that it's like, okay, well, I might not, I like you, if you've got 20% of your film shot, we probably shot about 30 or 40% of the Western, and we have to reshoot everything. One, because we've run into some scheduling issues. I've had to recast, and I've just accepted the fact that
can you do anything with the footage?
I made a teaser.
Oh, good.
There you go.
That none of those people are going to show up, but it looks cool.
My heart.
But I had like a couple days where I was like, oh, this sucks. But I'm like, it is what it is. I'm just going to try to be as positive as I can. I do try to look at things as opportunities. If none of this would have happened, I wouldn't have changed the script. I think it's a much stronger script now. So that's a positive I can take from this. And I think, and a lot of what I'm seeing just in here from you guys is a really good, I'd say, positive attitude moving forward and dealing with this, because it could be very easy to be like, well, this sucks. Now it's even harder when it was already hard. So fuck it. I'm not making films anymore. I'm going to, I don't know, go in the basement.
Well, Brian W. Smith says, great panel. The wearing pants mask comment was on point.
Right? I mean, no shirt, no shoes, no pants, no mask. No problem. We'll make a shirt. We should make a mask that says that.
On the topic of your script comment, like for our funding for our development of Sophie the Exorcist, we were supposed to shoot our trailer in May. And there's no doubt that a few extra months of development and writing and virtual meetings has made that way stronger than it would have been if we'd done that. So,
and I think that's a great takeaway. I think it's really easy to kind of, we get excited, the energy is there, you're getting ready to, do something, and, I don't care who you are. I mean, there's always going to be a mistake. There's always going to be some sort of challenge that comes up that you have to figure out how to problem solve. So the one thing that I think all of this has given us is a little bit of that time and ability to step back and really assess what needs to be done and to prep just a little longer, especially in this world. I mean, we all have to wear those multiple hats, and it's tough, you know? Yeah. Well, then
So
awkward
Agreed.
pause.
I'm going to do it with my hands.
not to interrupt the flow, but has
Interrupt.
anyone here experienced any backlash or negative sentiments from anyone, family, friends, social networking people that about what you're doing during a pandemic?
About making a movie during the pandemic, or just about life?
About you in general, David. No, I'm just kidding.
Backlash all the time from my friends.
Oh yeah, just about trying to make anything during the pandemic. You get a side eye or anything like that from any of you?
We did kind of have one, very minor. We had an actor that we'd cast in our proof of concept teaser, who it was going to be a little bit difficult for him to go and get the COVID test, and I have no idea what it's like in the States to get a COVID test, but we're very fortunate up here in Canada because we do have universal health care, and so it is fairly easy to get a test. You just go online and make an appointment and go. But we did have one actor who didn't really want to go and put in the effort to get the test, and then was going to argue about the necessity of it. And that, in fact, having a negative COVID test was actually the union rule in ACTRA. ACTRA is our version of SAG. And they required all the cast and crew to have a negative result before they step foot on set.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did have one actor who was pretty weird about it, and wasn't really super willing to put in the effort to just go find somewhere and get a test. So he ended up not doing the show. But otherwise, I don't know, Anna and Braden, I can't really think of anything else.
I mean, the burden of proof is higher. You need to prove to people that you are taking the precautions necessary. But I think for us, once we did that, it went really well. We haven't, to my knowledge, gotten any social media backlash.
No, it's been more, at least on, I think, our end, it was more just we didn't have information about what we needed to do with regards to deliverables for our funding. We just weren't, there was at least a few months where we just didn't know, do we still have to shoot this video? Do we do something else with that portion of the funding? What, is it safe yet? Can we afford to do this? It was more like we didn't get enough information, I guess, for a while.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think a lot of it's kind of follow the leader. I mean, I'm sure that there's always going to be someone who's going to raise a finger to be like, oh, but, I mean, if things are starting to go, if productions, at the studio level are starting to go back in, and that there seems to be a level of guidelines and protocol to follow to make it safe, there's no reason why we can't start getting back. And I've always been of the opinion that as long as you are doing everything in your power to do things the right way, the safe way, just keep doing that. If somebody doesn't want to do it, they don't need to be a part of it. It doesn't need to be a huge thing. I mean, I've had a crew member that was like, I'm not stepping foot on a set until there's a vaccine. That's fine. I respect that. I have to replace you. But I mean, it's nothing personal. I'm still going to try to move forward. I mean, and that's in all aspects of life. I mean, I think it's very easy when something gets like this that you can kind of get, bogged down and honestly almost paralyzed. And what do we do?
Well, I think that there are definitely two camps here of people, of creatives. They both acknowledge that there's an issue here with the pandemic, and they both want to be safe. There's one group that doesn't want to do anything and wants to wait till it's all over, and that's fine. Yeah. We respect that. And there's the other group that realizes the danger and is trying to be as safe as possible while getting things done. And I feel like some of them, sometimes they butt heads with each other, especially on social media.
Yeah.
one is at odds with the other, and it's sometimes it can be tough when you're not communicating properly. So I've noticed that a lot, especially on social media. I don't know if you guys have too.
Well, yeah, and I'd say especially, and Nathan, maybe you can speak to this a little bit. I know we touched on it when we talked, but just in general, having to decide whether or not as an event, if you're going to go live or virtual or cancel or move, it's a big deal because there is no, I think, right answer. I mean, you just try to do what's best, but it doesn't matter what you do. There's always going to be someone that's like, really?
Yeah,
well,
there's always some like that. We don't hear from them, but we know that they're side-eyeing us quietly.
right.
And that's fine. That's their right to do that. We don't want to begrudge anyone for not coming to a film festival during a pandemic. That would be
Yeah.
ridiculous. So the people that want to come, that's their choice to make. We're here and having
Absolutely.
a festival. If you want to be here, if you don't, we'll see you next year. Not a problem. So
Yep.
that's
And
our stance.
And just having those guidelines in place. I mean, we're all adults.
Right.
It's like, again, you're going to have people that are going to, like you said, kind of side eye, especially when it comes to shooting, because generally we're all in a group confined to some location. I mean, it's not like we can all be, what are you shooting? Oh, we're going to be on a football field, all far away, yelling to each other.
Yeah, well, and also I think there's a difference between individuals, who are going to shoot during a pandemic, and them, making sure they take extra precautions. I think as a creator, if you sit there and you say, I'm going to do temperature checks, I'm going to ask for COVID tests, I'm going to make sure I follow all the guidelines, as long as you are being responsible for everyone on set, to be honest with you, you shouldn't let that side eye or any of that stuff bother you. Now,
No, and you bring up something very interesting, because I think there's a lot of indie filmmakers that, because they're not doing a union shoot or a SAG shoot, that they don't have to follow the rules. But those guidelines are kind of there. And it's like, even if you're not doing that and you're not under an agreement or a contract, you can still apply that to your set and your project,
right,
thus making everyone feel like, okay, this is non-union, but they're still doing all the same stuff.
Right. Was when we shot my short, I reiterated numerous amounts of times, and I told people in person, I told them in Facebook groups, I said, if you feel uncomfortable at any point during this set, and if you need to leave, or whatever, that's fine. Please do not feel like you're hurting my feelings, because like I said earlier, your health, safety, and well-being come first for any shoot.
Yeah.
And luckily everyone was really on board. They were gung-ho, and there were no positive tests after the short, so we were all okay. So it made me feel good that we actually went the extra mile to make sure that people were safe.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Oh,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Quick question.
Yeah.
That bubbles up to my mind as I listen to you guys talk about this stuff at your level and the levels above of just like film production. In the same way, like who watches The Watchmen. Like, what is like, so how is this stuff being enforced and policed for the most part, in the sense of like, at the end of the day, and because like, as we spoke about, like, at the beginning in March, like nobody knew what's going on. Like nobody knows, like, do we need hand sanitizer? Is this about masks? Is this about being indoors?
Right.
Is this about being outdoors? It's like, nobody has any information. And now it's like, everybody's policing themselves. Is it like, is there somebody like in the bigger, because again, I don't have the information, I don't know, so I'm asking, I'm honestly curious, is there somebody who is appointed?
Yeah,
that
I think that's kind of the role of the health safety supervisor.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Because like I know, and you can double, like your set medic, if you have one, can also
Gotcha.
double as that. And a lot of times they need to be COVID certified depending on where you are. And that was something else I was going to bring up, is a lot of this has to do with where you're shooting. I mean, it's easy to turn on the news and be like, okay, it sucks everywhere. Well, it doesn't suck everywhere. There are some areas where numbers are really low, and it's probably a little bit safer to shoot there than here. So you have to take that into consideration.
Well, and then just like you say, it's all about doing your due diligence. You can go to, I think, www.globalpandemics.org, and it gives you a readout, so you can see what the COVID case is like, not only in state by state, but also in county by county. You can see the numbers, where the tide is going and everything. So,
Gotcha.
you have to make sure you do your due diligence, when you do these projects, but also going back to what you were saying, Jeff, about the whole policing thing.
Mm.
With us being, as indie as we are, as are, there's also, I want to say, a certain amount of trust that you have to build in with everyone. Be like, look, man, we all have to be on the up and up here, and that's why I've
Trust.
told people before. I'm like, look, I'm
Yep.
I'm putting a lot of faith and I'm putting a lot of trust in you guys. And if you have a cold, even if you have a rogue sneeze, you need to tell me, okay?
Right.
Because I don't want this to go out and just get out of hand in no time. And I think at least with me and my crew, we had that trust and build up. That
That's
like,
great.
look, like I said,
Well-
two people told me they were exposed, and they were like, well, what should I do? I'm like, don't come.
Yeah. Well, and those rogue sneezes and stuff can create a lot of panic.
Exactly.
Right.
One thing that we experienced.
Allergies.
Well, seriously, I mean, we were
Yeah.
shooting on, this was March 14th. So again, in the what's going on, I was just getting over strep throat, and I let everybody know. I was like, I'm on antibiotics. It's not that I have a cough, but we had, what's the blacksmith? A forge? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, Forge.
So that's going. That's horrible smoke. We had sawdust everywhere covering the grounds to make it look. So, I mean, everybody was hacking and coughing, and
Oh,
it was affecting allergies. Now we're all in masks, but we're kind of like, not COVID. Like,
yeah.
we just had a bunch of really shitty elements, unfortunately, that
Get
were
on a
there,
t-shirt.
even though we were outside. Yeah. I mean, anyone would come over. I'm like, it's sawdust and smoke. I swear.
So Mark, let's hear from you. Talk about what it's like over there in the UK in general and for filmmaking, and tell us some of your experiences.
Well, the problem with the whole COVID thing over this country is our government has been entirely vague on what we are and aren't supposed to be doing, and what we are allowed to do, and what is mandatory and what isn't mandatory. And that is no different in the filmmaking arena. So when we shot our film, we were very unclear about what the guidelines were. I mean, we did our COVID safety certificate things, and we took all our own precautions because we're not idiots. But the government was at one point exempting film shoots from the same guidelines as the general public. The social distancing, all that kind of stuff. They were saying, well, if you're shooting a film, though, it's it's probably okay, because you can't make a film without getting close, can you? So so it was very vague, and we just kind of used our common sense as best as we could, and we did what the science told us to do, which is, keep your distance, very clean, wear masks. We were very lucky with the venue that we had. I say venue, it was a 77-acre vineyard. So,
Nice.
Nice. Yeah.
That's great.
open air was good. It was we were rarely indoors, and where we were indoors, everyone was masked up, or we locked off the set, so only the specific people needed. But to be honest, it was the best cinematic experience of my life. I loved it, because everywhere was absolutely dead, so we had complete control, and the venue was running itself, as in, because it was getting ready to reopen. So it was cleaning itself constantly. They had people in, it was cleaning. So everyone felt really comfortable and really happy. And yeah, what I was going to say earlier, but I didn't, was that, like, this film wouldn't have happened without COVID. It came about because of it. Because I wasn't going to make a film this summer. I was doing a play. I had a play contracted to go on, and that got pushed because of this. And I was just bored with my mates who were meant to be in the play, and I said, do you want to make a film after this is all finished? And they went, yeah, okay, of the play, And so I talked to my producer, and I said, do you want to get involved with a no-budget film while we get our shit back together? And she went, is it set in a vineyard? I was like, it could be.
Do you want it?
Yeah.
So she's like, well, I've got a vineyard, write a film in a vineyard. So I was like, okay. So I did. And yeah, we managed to get a crew of amazing people who were just not working. We got in that window of post sort of real lockdown where people couldn't leave the house, and pre the industry restarting. So, but it wasn't illegal to make a film either. So we got this perfect window of 2 weeks where we just got these amazingly talented people who all just came in out of sheer frustration and boredom to come and work for us. And it was smooth sailing the whole way.
What exactly is your film about? The film that was made in the vineyard?
It's a sort of darkly comic thriller about these two guys on the way out of a small seaside town on the south coast of England, and driving along, one of them has an epileptic fit, and they have to pull into the nearest place, which is a vineyard, which is owned by these two lovely ladies, and everything's going fine. They put the guy who suffered the fit into a bedroom to recover and have a rest and stuff, and it's all very lovely, and then he wakes up, and things get less lovely after that. And things are revealed. I'm not gonna spoil for my film yet. All
I want to know is David Whitney in it?
Yes, he is.
Oh,
yes, he is.
I can't wait for that.
Nice.
Well, he was meant to be in the play, so it was me and him talking about doing the film, and it was a weird, positive COVID story, really.
Mazel tov to you.
Yeah.
It's great.
We need those positive stories.
We do.
Well,
That's
we
a
need the
victory.
arts right now. I mean, think about it. It's like we're kind of, I mean, there's just so much crap happening even outside of the pandemic. It's like you need that escape. We need films, we need plays, we need music. We need this stuff because that's how you escape. You
can't give up. You can never never give up.
It's up to us to save the world, you guys.
So what do we have, before we wrap up here, what do we have to say to anyone who's watching or will be watching later, filmmakers who need a little bit of inspiration, need a little bit of a nudge, or just some insight into what to do right now? Can you tell them anything?
Yeah, do research. I mean, all the information is out there, and every single challenge and problem, there is a solution. So just, I mean, do stuff like this, watch these panels, reach out. I mean, I'm sure we've all done it. So, I mean, I'd say everybody should post their links so people can ask questions and say, hey, like, how should I go about doing this? You know, I mean, just talk about it. Oh, did we lose somebody?
I think we lost Mark.
Mark disappeared.
Mark!
He's dead on the vine.
Yeah. So, I get it. Vine Vineyard. Okay, cool.
That's the name of the movie.
Oh, perfect.
That's actually brilliant.
Uh-huh.
I love it.
Yeah, Anna, I think I kind of interrupted you. You go.
No, that's fine. I was just going to say that, like, for me creatively, I find that when I'm faced with a specific set of parameters, that breeds a creativity that wouldn't happen otherwise. So to know, like, if you're limited,
right,
then you grow your idea within that limited space. And I find that quite liberating because there's all these decisions that I don't have to make. I have what I have, and then creativity really grows out of that. So if you're facing limitations,
100% agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, you establish what those are and then see what you can do within that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good creative exercise. I mean, when you're basically, you know, it's almost like when you're given too much creative freedom, you're like, I don't know, what should we do? I don't know. But when you are kind of forced to be like, I mean, like the quarantine contest, it's like you can't leave your house. It's like,
right,
all right, what do I have? What do I have that can work? You know,
that's what I did. That's exactly so it felt good to get a film out this year, even if it was in this very limited capacity of like, okay, this feature is kaput, but you know what? I need to get something out, you know, And yeah.
Well, and I think that kind of almost helps. I mean, it's like sometimes when you get frozen or you're like, oh, how do I, just being able to do that, produce
Yeah.
something, get some sort of content created to be like,
focus on something else.
All
You have
right.
many
Yeah.
irons in the fire, and like, if this is not working out, that's okay. Put it down for now. Welcome back, Mr. Brown, Mr. Mark.
Back.
There he is.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah, typical. As soon as I start talking, my housemate turned off the internet.
Oh,
I was like, what are you doing?
joke's on
No
you.
one's using this.
Like, yeah, I think I'm taking up the internet at the moment. It appears. Anyway, sorry, what did I miss?
So much. No.
So
Get a real
much
breakthrough.
happened.
Yeah.
We were just kind of sharing advice for anybody who's trying to kind of maneuver through this and still trying to create, how do you kind of give them advice, any kind of pointers to say this is kind of how we're navigating it. Maybe it'll help.
I think another thing folks can do when they want to get started with a film nowadays, I mean, this is advice for any time period, I guess, but call your local film co-op, film society, and ask them what other film other members are doing on their films, or what advice they have and how to connect with the right people to do that.
Yeah,
it's community, so treat it like that, even in these trying times.
yeah. I mean, the information's out there, just a little more legwork, but not much.
Or less, because people are more likely to jump on a video call with you
True.
than before.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I gotta drive an hour to meet you now. Zoom. I'll Zoom.
Yeah.
I got an opportunity for the sound design on my film, and he's only interested in doing it. He came to me and he says, do you want any help on your film? And this guy's winning an Oscar. So I'm like, yes please.
Yeah.
I was like, you're in LA though, and I'm in London. He's like, hey, everything's online now, so it doesn't matter. And I was like, oh, this is the new world. Fantastic. I can take some of this. This is good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think some good things may come out of that.
I think so. I think some good things will come out of this.
And just I do want to mention, because one thing that was really stressing me out leading up to our video was the budget, because we had a very small amount of money to make this proof of concept, and we're wanting to do some really crazy things, and the health and safety stuff was really stressing me out from a budget perspective, just because it's not something that we've ever really planned for before, having masks and 1,000 bottles of hand sanitizer everywhere, and gloves and face shields, and just buying all that stuff. And what I was really happy to discover on this shoot was that that stuff doesn't actually affect the budget that much. If you kind of, it'll affect your budget if you don't plan for it, obviously, if it's a last second thing. But if you take the time to kind of like, research and whatever, and figure out what this stuff costs, it's not actually that bad. So you don't have to be scared of the budget ramifications of living in the new world.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as you might think it is.
Especially since people aren't grazing at Crafty as much.
Right.
Yeah.
I would think crafty budgets might go down.
Ours did a lot. Yeah. We budgeted a lot of money for it, just because you got to keep your crew and your cast happy. But like our crafty table, everything was individually wrapped.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sort of separated, so that you didn't have to touch something else to get something, and everyone was required to sanitize their hands before taking anything off the table. And so we noticed that people just weren't.
Do I really want that Rice Krispie treat? I don't want to wash my hands.
And I think John touched on this earlier. I think, while everyone's making changes and accommodations to keep their sets safe, the biggest thing is you want the people that are on set to feel comfortable and, you know, to put their faith in you, that you are doing your job to make sure that their safety is first and foremost, you know?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And that's how
I
you get
think,
people to come back and help again.
exactly. And,
Right.
and that should be, you know, pre-COVID, but I think it's just more on the forefront of everyone's mind now.
Well, and I think that's another positive takeaway. It's kind of taken us back to pay attention to the things that matter, you know, and not take this stuff for granted.
Yeah, and you could, I can see people blacklisting themselves pretty easily if they don't take those precautions.
Oh
Because
yeah.
crews
Yes.
talk.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
I think especially on our set, I think the majority of our crew was going on to Black Summer's set like the week after.
Great
I think
series.
correct? So
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
because the crew in Calgary works non-union and union quite fluidly, we would have been probably in trouble from the Black Summer folks if we hadn't taken things seriously as well.
Mm.
Like if there were any problems, and I mean, God forbid there was some kind of outbreak or something, some contraction on our set that carried over onto how screwed we'd be. So,
Yeah.
Wait, is there? Wait. Black Summer, like the continuation of the show from last year on Netflix. Is on, oh, I'm so glad there's another season. And that was such a cliffhanger. I inhaled it.
Yeah, and actually, that show has a private company doing COVID testing on their set. They test the
Good.
cast and crew every like twice a week. And I was talking to one of like my buddy who was on our set and is also on that set, and happy to report he didn't get COVID on our set.
Good.
So,
It's good.
Good.
so we were safe. We were good.
I'll tell you, it puts the Seinfeld, you know, the close talker in Seinfeld. It takes on a whole new meaning. If you get labeled a close talker now, it's not
For
just
sure.
like it's not just like a neurotic thing. It's like, oh, he's a close talker.
Yeah. And everyone's like,
Well, this has been a fantastic talk. We're going to have to wrap up here because we've got our closing film coming up here at GenreBlast. But I want to thank everybody for joining us. Thank you for Vanessa for leading this conversation. Tell us again about your project. If it's finished and it's available now, tell us where we can see it or find it. And if it's not finished, tell us what year at GenreBlast it will be playing.
ABC, always be closing, Nathan.
I'm not kidding.
Next year.
yeah.
Well,
Next year,
people can
baby.
follow Sophie the Exorcist on Instagram to find out what we've got going on. We'll have our trailer dropping in a couple weeks. So
Nice.
And probably 2021.
yeah.
I will say
Yeah.
you can see Killer Caribou on 13 Slays of Christmas coming out this December, I believe.
Oh,
And I
I'm excited for that.
That's coming out through.
Yeah. I want to see that.
Yeah, we have the trailer for Blue on our Instagram and Facebook. It's Foxpaw Productions, and hoping to be able to show it to everybody at next year's GenreBlast.
Mine should be next year. Hopefully, we're hoping to finish it by March-ish. And if you want to follow it on Instagram, it's Dead on the Vine Movie 2020.
Perfect.
I'm currently finishing or continuing work on a documentary about the Misfits from 1977 to 1983. So if you know that band, I would love for that to play at a GenreBlast or anywhere else. I don't know if that documentaries count. And I'm hopefully someday, some way, somehow, because I'm never going to give up, Wash Away will get completed as well. That will happen, because never say die.
That's right. That's right. I'll be shooting Golden Tooth in February, and hopefully we'll get it done, edited, and ready to go by the summer. And it should be. It's my first Western. We'll see. I don't know.
All right, I think that's everybody. Thank you once again for this international panel. For some of you are are doing this at weird hours. So really appreciate it. Stay tuned for more stuff from GenreBlast, and we're going to be following all of your exploits and travels very closely. And everybody say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Nathan.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
Genre
you.
Blast. Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank
Reagan.
you.
Thank you, Chad.
Absolutely.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody. Bye, Facebook.